So in this section, we will continue our previous topic, toxicology general consideration. So the now action of poison. The action of poison may be local, and remote combined, and general. Now the first, local action. As the name suggests, local. So it is limited to a particular location or a particular organ. So the local action results from its direct action on the part and may cause corrosion, as in the case of strong mineral acid, or congestion and inflammation, as in the case of irritant. Such poisons generally produces gross neck-type changes seen at the postmortem examination. Right? So the local action is usually produced due to the direct contact with the poison. So they produces the changes only where they came to contact, or where they came in contact. Just like corrosive poison, it corrodes or burns the part where it touches. Just like a drop of poison dropped on hand. So it will not produce generalized effect, or it will not produce any effect on the distant parts. It will produce its effect only on this particular part where the drop falls. Okay? So it will corrode here only, right? Or like the irritant poison, if marking nut is applied to the hand part, then the irritation changes or the changes due to the poison will be produced only on the hand, nowhere else. So these are the local action of the poison. So the local action of the poison is due to the direct action and on the local part. What is this? It is a direct action and it is only on the local part where it is applied. Second, remote. The remote action is due to absorption of the poison. It may be either specific or non-specific. The specific action depends on the effect of the poison on certain organs with which it has spatial affinity. For example, opioids on the cerebral cortex, strychnine on the spinal cord, and the digitalis on the heart muscles. So local action was limited to the part where it was applied. Now in case of remote action, where the poison is applied, it gets absorbed from here, right? And after the absorption, it produces its effect on a distant part, right? Just like a poison was applied on the hand and it produces its action on liver. It is a remote action. So usually what happens, every poison has its spatial affinity towards the organ. We discussed it in the classification of the drugs, where every poison was producing a specific effect. One was affecting the heart muscles or heart, one was affecting the cerebral or the nervous system. So every poison has its spatial affinity towards any part of the body or any organ. So when it gets absorbed in the body, it reaches to that part and produces its effect on that particular part. The action is not local, but on the distant part or the part other than where it was applied. Right? The poison was ingested in the stomach. It gets absorbed from the stomach and produce its effect on kidney, produce its effect on heart. So these are the distant parts, not related to the GIT, but after the absorption, the organ distant to the site of the absorption was affected. Just for example, in case of digitalis. Digitalis is what? a poison that has special affinity towards heart. It is ingested through mouth, get absorbed in the stomach and acts on heart muscles. Just like Naxomica or strychnine, it is taken through mouth, absorbed in stomach and produces effect on spinal cord. So this is what? It is the remote action of the poison. Third one was local and remote combined. It means the poison is producing its local effect and remote effect. Just like a poison is taken through mouth, it goes to stomach, so it produces its symptom in mouth and stomach, and then its effects are produced in heart. So it is producing local effect and remote effect, like corrosive acids. When they are taken through mouth, they corrode the mouth, they corrode the esophagus, they corrode the stomach, right? And through their absorption, they produce effect on a distant part, just like decaying of the other organs like liver, kidney, necrosis of other organs. It is local and remote action. So it is combination of local and remote action. Fourth one was general, the poison which produces general effects or generalized effect on the whole body. General effect and combined effect of local and remote. There is a small difference. Local effect is limited to the part which is where it is applied. In case of remote action, the effect is limited to the organ which has special affinity towards that poison. The action will be produced only in that organ which has special affinity, right? But in generalized effect, the effect in the general effect or in the general action, the effect will be generalized. It will be on the whole body, right? It will not be limited to the part where it was applied or the one or two organs towards which it has special affinity. It will produce generalized effect. Now the action of poison. What are the factors that affects the action of poison? If poison of similar quantity is ingested by different people, the effect will not be similar. So what is the reason behind it? What are the factors that are affecting the action of poison? First one is dose. Second is form of poison. Third is method of administration. And the last is condition of the body. So first the dose. A general rule, a small dose produces therapeutic action, large dose produces toxic effect, right? As we discussed in the definition of poison, that small dose of any substance will have therapeutic action or medicinal action, but the large dose will produce poisonous effect. However, there are certain exceptions to this general rules, just like idiosyncrasy. Idiosyncrasy is nothing but the sensitivity of a person towards a particular substance, right? In this case of idiosyncrasy, a simple food material can get converted into poison for that particular person. Just like if a person has allergy from peanut. So what is the situation? The person is idiosyncratic towards peanuts. So usually peanut is food, it is not poisonous, but here it will act as a poison. So idiosyncrasy towards certain drugs and foods result in intense symptoms. This is seen with drugs such as morphine, cocaine, quinine, aspirin and many others in certain articles of food. For example, mushroom, eggs, milk and shellfish. So idiosyncrasy is nothing but just a exaggerated reaction towards a substance which is usually not poisonous or which is not usually poisonous in a small quantity. Morphine, cocaine, quinine, these are poisons. They produce harmful effect, but after a certain limit or after a certain quantity. But what happens in case of idiosyncratic person? That is smallest quantity will produce intense symptoms. A smallest quantity will produce intense poisoning or exaggerated poisoning hazardous symptoms. Right? So a dose is effective, but in case of idiosyncratic person, a small dose is effective. This was about the poisons. Now some food materials also can act as a poison in case of idiosyncratic person. If a person is sensitive to, just I give you an example of peanut, the person can be sensitive of egg, can be sensitive of shellfish or seafood, can be sensitive of mushroom. So if a person is idiosyncratic to any food material, if it is taken by that person, it will produce poisonous effect. As it will produce unwanted or undesirable symptoms, so this will be poisonous effect on that idiosyncratic person. Some individuals are allergic towards certain drugs. Allergy means hypersensitivity acquired as a result of previous administration of the toxic agent or induced by the simultaneous presence of another poison. That one person was idiosyncratic, now the case is allergic. Person produces allergic reaction to a certain drug. Allergy is nothing but just the exaggerated response of immune system. Okay, it is exaggerated reaction of immune system. So person is hypersensitive. So in such cases, adverse reaction is produced by the drugs. Habit diminishes the effect of certain poisons since a tolerance towards them is gradually developed. Such tolerance is common in case of alcohol, opioids, pethidine and tobacco. A person is sensitive, idiosyncratic, and a person can be less reactive. Usually what happens when a person takes a drug regularly, okay, it becomes habitual. He becomes habitual to that drug and his tolerance level towards that drug increases. That is why usually the person who is taking drugs usually increases the quantity of drugs gradually, because for that quantity they are non-reactive. A person started with 1 gram of tobacco. Usually there will be increase in the quantity or the dose of the tobacco from 1 gram to further increasing dose. Why? Because a tolerance level is developed into the body. The body gets habitual to that quantity of drug. So 1 gram of tobacco will now be ineffective in that person. So it will not produce any poisonous effect. Now to get the desirable effect, he will increase the dose. So he will go from 1 gram to 2 gram, then 2 to 3 grams. So there will be further increasing in the dose. Same with the alcohol. In case of alcohol, a person is taking a limited quantity, starting with just like 30 ml, 60 ml, 100 ml, right? And with the time, the tolerance is developed in the body to that particular quantity, and to get the effect of the alcohol, the person will increase the dose. So that particular dose will be ineffective for that person. So no poisonous effect will be produced in that particular dose. So habit diminishes the effect of certain poisons since a tolerance toward them is gradually developed. Now the two poisons, when are taken together, as for example, alcohol and barbiturates in non-toxic doses when administered simultaneously may cause toxic symptoms due to synergism, which means that the final response is greater than the sum of their individual action. The effect is called additive if the final response is equal to the sum of their individual action. Usually a particular quantity of alcohol and a particular quantity of barbiturate produces a symptom of level of X and Y, right? If they are taken individually. But if the person takes the both drugs simultaneously, then the action what is expected will be X plus Y, X of alcohol, Y of barbiturate, but this action or this combined action will be greater than this X plus Y, right? There are certain drugs which are prohibited to take along with the alcohol, right? Certain drugs are not advised to take along with alcohol, as these are non-poisonous when taken together, when taken separately. When the drug is taken separately, it is non-poisonous, but when it is combined with the alcohol, it becomes poisonous. So, if two drugs are combined with each other, then their action can get exaggerated and the action is greater than the individual action of that drug. If a poison exerts an emetic effect, a large dose will produce violent vomiting and mitigate the evil effect of a poison. Occasionally, a large dose acts different from a small dose of the same poison. As for example, a large dose of arsenic may produce death by shock, while a small dose results in gastrointestinal irritation. What is written here? That a particular substance in a small quantity will produce a very small level of symptom. Just like a drug in a small quantity just produces vomiting, right? But when it is taken in large dose, in large quantity, the actions of the drug are exaggerated to very high level. It will produce violent reaction. Just like in case of arsenic, if arsenic is taken into small doses, it will produce only gastrointestinal upset. But when taken in large dose, it causes death due to shock. Some poisons such as arsenic, mercury, lead, barbiturates, digitalis and carbon monoxide are eliminated slowly and may accumulate in the body. Their repeated administration, even in small doses, may result in chronic poison. Usually, when the poison is ingested in the body or when the poison is inserted in the body, it is harmful for the body knows it. So what it tries? The body tries to eliminate the poisons from the body. But some poisons are eliminated gradually. Their elimination or excretion is not fast. It takes time to eliminate them. Now, in the situation when a person is coming in exposure to a particular drug continuously, then what will happen? Then the drug level of the drug in the body will increase with the time. Take example. A person is working in an industry where arsenic is used, right? So due to the poor maintenance of protective measure, a small dose of arsenic is taken, ingested in the body or taken in the body. Now the excretion process of arsenic is not fast. It gets absorbed in the body usually and takes time to eliminate from the body. Now the person is a continuous worker in that industry, so he will take a small quantity of arsenic on the daily basis, right? So one day the level of arsenic will be very high in the body because it is getting summed up. First day he took 1 gram. Out of this, 0.5 grams get excreted. So the next day body level is 0.5 and he again took 1 gram. He again excreted 0.5 gram. So the next day the level in the body will be 1 gram. Again he took 0.5 gram. Again he took 1 gram. Now the eliminated level will be 0.5 gram. So for the next day the dose is 1.5 gram. Again 1 gram relieved or eliminated 0.5 gram. So the ultimate level in the body will be 2 gram. So what is happening? There is gradual increase in the level of the drug in the body and it will produce, so the production or the symptoms appearance will be gradual, so it will create chronic poisoning. The poisoning will not be acute as the dose is not taken at a time. Small dose is taken gradually, so there will be arrival of symptoms gradually, so it will create chronic poisoning. Clear?
Yes.
Second factor that affects the action of poison is mode of administration. A poison acts most rapidly when inhaled in the gaseous or vaporous form or when injected intravenously. Next, when injected intramuscularly or subcutaneously, and least rapidly when swallowed. There is further slowing of action if the substance ingested is partly soluble or the stomach is full. There is still further slowing of action if the poison is applied to unbroken skin. Certain poisons act differently when they are introduced through different routes. Like snake venom is highly toxic when injected but is harmless when ingested. Cocaine acts as a local anesthetic when injected but is harmless when ingested and as a delirium and convulsant when ingested. Right? So, what is the method of administration? Also affects the action of poison. How it is administered in the body will affect the severity of symptoms. Just like the poison is produced or the intensity of the symptom will be high or the toxicity will be produced rapidly when it is inserted into the body through intravenous route or when it is inhaled. What occurs when it is inhaled in the body or when it is inserted in the body intravenously? It gets rapidly absorbed in the blood. In case of inhalation, with the gaseous section, it gets dissolved in the blood. Or in intravenous case, it is directly inserted into blood. So the action of the poison will be fast, right? Now next, intramuscularly. In case of iron, it is get absorbed in the blood but the process is little bit slower than in case compared to the intravenous or inhalation, and it acts least rapidly when it is ingested in the body. As in case of ingestion, it enters in the stomach where it is absorbed in the blood and then it gets into the circulation, and even slower when applied on the unbroken skin. So in that case again absorption will be slower, so the action of the poison will be slower. Now in case of ingestion, its action depends where the stomach is full or not. If the stomach is full, then the absorption will be slower, and if the stomach is empty, then the absorption will be fast. Clear or not? Why? Why there is a difference in case of empty stomach and filled stomach? It is about surface area. The more surface area will be available for the poison to get absorbed in case when it is empty, right? There is still further slowing of action if the poison is applied to unbroken skin. Certain poison acts differently when they are introduced through different routes. So the route of administration also affects the action of poison. If a poison is inhaled, as we discussed, it acts faster, and when it is ingested, it acts slower. So when the poison snake venom is ingested, it doesn't produce anything, but when inserted into the blood, it produces toxic effect. Similar to cocaine, when it is applied or when it is injected in the body, it produces local anesthetic effect, but when ingested, it produces delirium effect. Now the third factor that affects the action of poison is condition of the body, like age, state of health, sleep and intoxication. In case of age, usually in children and in old age, poison acts more vigorously than compared to young age, right? State of health, if a person is already sick, the body is already weak, so the effect of the poison will be high. And sleep and intoxication, in case of sleep and if a person is already intoxicated, the effect or the action of poison increases, right? Now the fate of poison in the body. So what happens when the poison is inserted in the body? Unless the poison is given in a small amount in a liquid state, the greater part of it may be lost by vomiting or diarrhea. Once it is absorbed by the body may deal with it in one of several ways. It may be excreted unchanged. Commonly it will be partly or completely metabolized. So there is a general protective mechanism in the body. If anything which is irritating or which is harmful for the body tries to eliminate it immediately. So if a small quantity of a poison is taken in liquid state, what body will do? It will try to excrete it through or remove it through vomiting. So greater part of the poison will be eliminated by vomiting. What part is left in the body? Either it will get eliminated unchanged, or it may get enter into metabolism. So usually what happens, partly or completely it is metabolized and some part of it is excreted in unchanged form, or it is converted to another active compounds prior to further metabolism. Either it is metabolized or it is converted into a form which can be metabolized by the body. When not completely metabolized, it may be detected in the original form or in the form of intermediate products in the tissues, such as the epidermis, nails, hairs and bones may contain inorganic poisons such as arsenic, even after elimination from the rest of the body, and the bony skeleton may hold such poison as arsenic, lead and radioactive isotopes for longer periods. Once the poison is taken into the body, what body tries to get it removed from the body. So there is vomiting. In this case, some part of the poison will be removed from the body through vomiting. Now still some part is left in the body. So in this part, some part will enter into metabolism and some part will get eliminated in unchanged form. So what part gets into metabolism will enter into the circulation. Even before it enters into metabolism, it may get converted into a form of this compound which can be metabolized in the body. Means it can get converted into an active compound, and then it enters into the metabolism, and through this metabolism it gets into the circulation and produces its symptom. Clear? Yes. What is happening here? Clear? Taken through the mouth, enters in the stomach, some part through the vomiting is eliminated, some part retains in the stomach. The part which is retained in the stomach, even in this, some part get eliminated, unchanged, and some part get either directly into the metabolism or get converted into a more metabolic compound and then enters into the metabolism. From this circulation, again some part will get eliminated and some part of the poison get retained by the body, which is slowly eliminated by the body. But in cases of some poison, they are retained in the body for a longer period. Just like in case of arsenic, right? Some form of unmetabolized arsenic gets stored into the nails, hairs, bone marrow, and in the bone marrow it can be detected even after a long time. So the diagnosing a case of poisoning. To diagnose poisoning, it is essential that one should be familiar with the outstanding symptom and sign of poisoning in the living person together with its effect as found in the examination of the body. The evidence of poisoning depends whether the poisoning is acute or chronic. Acute poisoning, when the large dose of poison is taken in a single dose or in a small period of time. Chronic poisoning, where a small quantity is taken for a longer period. So the acute poisoning symptoms appear suddenly soon after the suspected food is taken. Symptoms may be delayed. The person previously to be in good health is affected with a group of symptoms which do not conform to ordinary illness. Other taken similar food, medicine, fluid are also affected similarly and simultaneously. So when the doubt of the acute poisoning will come, a person who was previously healthy took something, ate something or drank something, and after this he produced some symptoms which are not similar to any ordinary disease. Then there is a doubt or suspicion of poisoning. Second suspicion, when many person produces similar symptoms after taking same food. Just like in case of food poisoning, right? What happens in a function? Many people have the same food and they produces similar symptoms. So there is a suspicion of acute poisoning. The symptoms rapidly increases in severity and are followed by death or recovery. Poison can be detected in the ingested food, medicine and fluid or vomit, gastric lavage, blood, urine and stool of the victim. So in the case of acute poisoning, the severity or the intensity of the symptoms will increase rapidly and it will end either with the recovery of the patient or death of the patient. Second thing, the poisoning is acute. The dose of the poison is large. So what will happen? It will be detectable. And it can be detected into the contains of the stomach, just like vomitus or gastric lavage, or can also be detected into blood, urine and stool. Symptoms in case of chronic poisoning, symptoms develop insidiously and gradually. There is an acceleration of the symptoms after the suspected food, medicine or fluid is administered. There is remission or even complete disappearance of symptoms on the removal of the patient from his usual surroundings. Poison can be detected in the food, medicine or fluid which is being administered or in the vomit, urine or stool of the victim. So in case of chronic poisoning, symptoms develops gradually. There is no sudden appearance of symptoms. Symptoms appears gradually with the time. Second thing, there is an acceleration of symptoms after the suspected food, medicine or fluid is administered. Although symptoms doesn't get so much intense, but there is slight acceleration or increase in the intensity of the symptoms after having the food or fluid which is having poison. There is remission or even complete disappearance of the symptom on the removal of the patient from his usual surrounding. So if a person is getting poison when he is working or he is getting poison from the food he is eating, so if the person is removed from that usual habitat, then what will happen? Then the regular dose what he is taking will not be available. So there will be decrease in the symptom or complete absence of the symptom, right? So if a person is removed from his natural or normal habitat, then there will be decrease or remission of the symptom. Poison can be detected in the food, medicine or fluid which is being administered or in the vomit, urine or stool of the victim. While the main symptoms of chronic poisoning are usually malaise and gradual deterioration of health, repeated attacks of undiagnosed gastrointestinal irritation should arouse suspicion of homicidal poisoning. Usually in case of chronic poisoning, the starting of the symptom is with malaise, weakness, right, and followed by gradual deterioration of the health. As the symptoms are produced gradually, so the deterioration in the health will be gradual. If there is repeated gastrointestinal disturbance, then one should suspect for homicidal poisoning. So this is how the poisoning is diagnosed in case of acute poisoning or chronic poisoning. If these symptoms are found, if the rapid generation of the symptoms are found after taking a food, then there should be suspicion. And if there is gradual development of the symptoms which disappeared when the person is removed from his natural habitat, then the suspicion of poisoning should be there, right?